Welcome to r/EntitledPeople, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story was underpaid for so long and got significantly better offer at a bigger company. The second story, entitled manager who no one likes was fired for fraud. The third story, the company hired a CFO who was a total a-hole who led the company into bankruptcy and ran away. The first story is, finally quit after 7 years and it was liberating. Backstory, son of immigrants of the Vietnam War, grown up in a small winter state. First job in middle school serving lunch. Pizza cook in teens. Have always been the type to just put head down and work. Went to college because parents said there was a college fund, but dropped out 1.5 years in because it didn't exist. Worked at a pharmacy for 3 years up to shift lead and busted my A. First assistant manager once ridiculed me for not having a degree, and I was like, bye Felicia, and moved to my current company. Fast forward. I started at my current company at the very bottom, taking phone call orders from religious nutcases deep into the late PM shift like, no, I'm not interested in bathing in the light of the Lord. Do you want some vitamin? Through luck, a manager at the time had worked there for 10 years was like, I want to be a cop now, so I'm a bounce. But this Asian kid can have my job for less money. So I get thrown into this random job because I had recently bought this giant book called the 2016 Excel Bible. Read it cover to cover because I'll be D'd if I sell vitamin D to cultists until 12 a.m. into my retirement years. I end up grinding, self-learning, and teach myself analytics, and figure out the secret sauce to forecasting calls. Build scheduling models using data and improve coverage, improve retention, grant more vacations, the whole macaroni and cheese. I'm so good at it that I work with the CEO, and through my work, I prevent an entire call center from getting laid off and sent to an offshore agency. That gets me invited to an analytics job where I get paid hourly $18 an hour. No degree, me getting my foot in, but obviously underpaid. But I just do what I always did and just get the job done and learn as much as possible. Over 5 years, I learned SQL, R, more Excel. I learned stats, analytical methods, and take on more and more work, absorbing as much as possible. I literally build all the reports and automate them, furthering the efficiency. I innovate new ways to look at the data and get good at quickly investigating data and finding insights. Made the company tons of money, and am so good that the business has no choice but to acknowledge it. My salary improved over the years but was always below median for the job. So, to the juicy part. Some facts. 1. I was the primary analyst supporting multiple marketing teams, 4 major areas, providing answers to all sorts of complex problems. 2. I also was the primary analyst managing website analytics, learned how to tag events on the site and build all our e-commerce website reports from the ground up. 3. Completed 1,500 plus analytics projects of varying difficulty during my time with 300 in 2021 alone. 4. Trained 6 analysts during my time. 5. So good at my job that my boss was promoted to director because there wasn't a need to manage me due to my productivity and performance. 6. People across the business leveraged me for analytics, and I had to build strong rapport with everyone. I had done stand-up comedy for 3 years, and it taught me how to win people over. 7. The company had gone through so many CEOs, leadership, and did 2 mass layoffs in the 7 years I was there, and I had witnessed all those. 8. Despite always going above and beyond, strong annual reviews, taking more and more responsibilities, and in general becoming a better analyst, boss continues to focus entirely on what I do wrong than acknowledge what I do right. Tiny mistakes that have no huge impact to our projects and are the result of being stressed so thin. Well, I had been promoted to a level 2 analyst a few years back, but I always knew I had been underpaid. I was overworking myself, always bringing up burnout with no effort from the business to improve it. I documented all my work to show my productivity and could prove I was putting in 50 plus work weeks with almost no breaks just to keep up with demand. Then an epiphany occurs. A few months ago, my annual reviews come in, and I'm meeting expectations despite all the insane workloads and pushing myself to handle more. And I get a compensation letter and it reads I get a 3% raise for a salary already 10 to 12% below median market rate for the same job, not factoring skills or accomplishments. So I see for the second year in a row I got 3%, which is essentially a pay cut because of inflation, and our insurance costs went up. And out of frustration, I applied to the first place I could, a Fortune 100 company. One of the places where employees leave reviews of it being a great place to work with good work-life balance. Also a place where I saw the workers had stayed there for 10 plus years. The current job I was at was lucky if people got past 2 years. And after a series of interviews and being transparent about my skills and experience, I was offered a lateral job move. Same role, better work-life balance, 100% remote for a 24% pay increase. I mean better base pay, 4 times bonus potential, more vacation PTO, double 401k match, just all-around better opportunity across every metric. Of course, I take the offer and break the news to my current company, professionally outlining all my reasons. 1. I've been overworked for years, and despite me making efforts to improve fair working conditions, nothing was done. 2. I've been underpaid below market for some time, and the company never tried to make it right and assumed I would just take it. A coworker had tried to negotiate and was met with the age-old "there's no budget," which prompted me to just start looking for a new job. 3. There was an unhealthy expectation that the high workloads and always catering to the needs of marketing and the business was just part of the job and role, despite severely being underpaid. 4. Always being criticized for minor things, rather than being appreciated by my manager. I went into transparent detail of all the things I did and told them that no one else on the team could pick those skills up in any decent amount of time. That my departure would leave a huge gap in their team because of their lack of effort in retaining their talent. And that in no way would I consider a counteroffer because any offer made now would be desperate and be too late. I had to say that to both my boss's boss and the chief of marketing. And I was given every excuse. Them, "You're very valuable and we can't do this without you." Me, "Well, I was underpaid for so many years, so the sentiment doesn't match the actions taken." Them, "We were planning on paying you more eventually." Me, "My boss gave me my compensation raise and didn't communicate that it would grow later, and at no point in the past did that ever happen. I don't trust that to be true." Them, "Would you be open to waiting 24 hours for a counter?" Me, "They could offer me 300K and I would say no, because I can't trust there wouldn't be consequences for leaving in the first place, so I will professionally reject all counteroffers as to not waste time." I was calm, had my facts, and outlined how easy it was for this no-degree young dude to get into a big data-driven company that was just better across the board. I watched the color drain from everyone's faces because they realized how much they took for granted, how they now risk significant amounts of money because my data-driven insights will no longer be provided. Morale with the people I supported will drop significantly, all in the efforts to save a few $1,000s in payroll. And I held firm on my refusal for a counteroffer, which has solidified that I'll be leaving, and there's nothing they can do about it. They made their bed and they realized how screwed they really are. And honestly, it was incredibly liberating. Knowing I'll have a new opportunity to learn from a better company with less insane workloads, with fair pay in line with my worth. I know my boss and leadership are going to scramble, and this could mean a collapse in our analytics team due to my contribution. But this is what happens when management does little to retain their talent. The second story is, manager caught falsifying tips for months. My serving job that I had for the past 18 months to 2 years was not all bad. There were its moments of bad customers and management and whiny servers, but all in all I made great money and some lifelong friends with a few of my fellow servers. But there was this one manager everyone hated. She got hired late last October and replaced a manager that was very beloved. She was just a bully, would use her management power to just make your life hell if she didn't like you. I was fortunate and she seemed to like me and left me alone, but I saw her tear people apart. She was immature, lazy, would constantly pick fights with servers and staff. I even had tables complain about her to me. And the worst, at least to me, she was a hypocrite. She would tell us no eating on the clock, and then stuff her face in the office. No one liked her except the GM, because she kissed his A. He defended her and told the staff to be nicer to her. Well, like I said, I left the restaurant 2 months ago, but I've kept in contact with some of the servers still working there. Well, yesterday I get a text in a group chat announcing that manager B-Face had been fired. I was just kinda like, what'd she do, throw a dinner plate at a cook? Nope, she'd been falsifying cash tips for servers since November. She was hired at the end of October. Servers need a manager to clock them out at the end of a shift, something weird with the POS system, so it's a huge pain in the A for servers who are chomping at the bit to GTFO to get clocked out, because there's usually only one floor manager at the end of the night, and if they're not busy with something they usually are nowhere to be found. Yeah, a lot of servers leave every night without clocking out, which I know is a bad thing, but the manager usually at the end of the night just does it all at once when sitting in the office. Takes them maybe an extra 10 minutes. B manager was notorious for pulling the vanishing act at the end of the night, so it was particularly bad when she closed. Well, apparently B manager took it very personally when people didn't clock out at the end of the night. So when she clocked servers out, she would claim hundreds in cash tips for them as punishment. No one noticed until tax season because why would we? We don't get pay stubs and it wasn't like our pay was affected, as we were walking out with what we actually made. Even at tax season, enough people were still making below the bar, so most got all their government claim money back at tax season. Except for a handful of people who noticed something weird was going on. One girl lost her Medicaid because she was making too much. So yeah, she was fired immediately, and it's a huge mess now that the GM, who has to eat crow about his favorite manager, and owners of the company have to go back through tons of logs to reimburse people and fix the problem. Some people are talking about suing, which may not amount to much because it was an employee, not the company committing the fraud. And the last story is, cost old employer about $48K, and a visit from the police. Worked for a national events company as an event manager in 1997. Great company that suddenly went corporate. I did not fit in, so I quit with notice. The owner called me. He was a decent guy and really asked me to stay out the year for more money and no BS. I agreed and things were great for a while. Company hired a CFO who was a total SH head, power-hungry a-hole. 3 weeks after he was hired, I quit. Again, owner called and literally begged me to stay on for one last big event 2 years in the making. I expressed my extreme issue with the CFO, but agreed to do it for lots more money, and a promise of no CFO BS. Of course, the CFO effed with me, but I did the event, and expected to quit the following Monday when I got home. Now the side story. I rented a giant 10-person cargo van when we arrived in the event city. We used it for 3 weeks and were to return it the next AM at the airport. We were running late and the Alamo desk was slow, so I left the van with a note in the return lot. This is before automated drop-off. I figured I would go to the Alamo at my home airport and fill them in. Turns out I can only deal with the place I rented it from, so I planned to call them from the office the next AM and deal with it. Got called in at 8 instead of 9, which meant I was being fired. Who cares? I go in and my 2 managers, great guys, were all upset, but said the CFO said I was fired immediately. I laughed, told them no worries, let's go get some breakfast, but first I need to tell you about this ban. They both said they could not discuss any company business with me according to the CFO. I told them we really need to go over this. They insisted no discussion. We shook hands and I left with a new, better position by early afternoon. Fast forward about 3 years. I meet one of my former managers at an event in another city. We were friends and went for beers. He explained how the CFO stole all the money and the business went bankrupt about a year after I was fired. I remember to ask about the van. No one ever thought about it again, until the state police showed up looking for a stolen van. No one had any idea what was up and the fools just imagined it was a mistake. Then Alamo invoices the company for about 180 days of $270 a day rental, since they never received the van to check it back in, even though it was in their lot the whole time. Alamo was obviously scanning the company, but there was really nothing they could do but negotiate a payment. So what happened with the CFO? This was about a year after I left, but my buddy filled me in on what happened. The SH-Bag CFO was using the company inventory as collateral for loans he was taking out to purchase real estate. Basically, he mortgaged everything the company owned and sunk the money into his projects. The owner was not stupid. At some point, he got suspicious and did an after-hours independent audit, and they found out most of the details but not all. Owner went to police. Then owner and police went to CFO's house on a Sunday to confront him. Owner agreed to delay and avoid charges if the CFO came in on Monday AM, with full disclosure on everything and paid it all back. CFO had a wife and 3 to 4 kids. Monday, he did not show up. His secretary, who was married with kids to the general manager of the company, also failed to show up. CFO had money stashed and was able to liquidate some sets before they both fled the US, leaving families behind. Not sure if he was ever caught after this, but I sorta doubt it. We're not talking $40 million. My guess is $3 to $5 million total, involved with maybe $2 million lost. All company assets were seized, property locked down, 401k was gone, and they went bankrupt almost immediately. Subscribe, hit the like button, and have a good day.